Hi, this is the second in a series of videos that I'd like to have conversations about death and dying in America and our attitudes about it. And this one I'd like to have focus on one problem I think we are having, and that's the loss of the nuclear family. When we had a nuclear family, we had family members who were close and they saw the aging person. They saw the pain they were going through, the suffering. They picked them up when they fell. They cleaned them up when they soiled themselves, and they knew them well enough that they could have those conversations about um, what, how long do you want this to go on? Um, and it was easier to have closer relationships and know what the person's attitude was. And in this day and age, we have kids who grow up, they go away to college, they leave the small town, they join the military, they get married, they have families elsewhere. And what we're left with is an older couple that's alone together, and they become almost codependent, um, and they're they're fearful of being left behind um, when one of them dies. And for example, one of them might have been a caretaker for a long time and might feel that they will lose that role. What will be their purpose in life? What will they do if they're not taking care of this person? Another person might be the one who's always been taken care of, the wife that never had to, do the bills, never had to do the investing, anything like that. I remember I had one widow tell me one of the most remarkable things she discovered after becoming a widow was WD-40. And the partner, the spouse, is usually aware of the neediness of their spouse, and so they will hang on for that person. And part of the problem is that they've lost the nuclear family. They have no one to rely on if they should become alone. And what we need to do is maintain closer relationships with our families. Not just see them on Christmas and Thanksgiving. It's hard to have these discussions by phone. Um, but rather than what tends to happen now is there will be a family emergency. Somebody breaks their hip, and a sibling is designated as the one to go out and take care of that family disaster. They get them in rehab, and they think, "Whew, I made it through that one." And maybe they get out of rehab because breaking a hip is kind of a beginning of a spiral, in a sense, and then they develop pneumonia. Second sibling goes out there, takes care of that emergency, but this spirals, and after a while, nobody comes out anymore. They can't afford to. They can't afford to leave their jobs. They can't afford to fly across the country. And at that point, it is usually too late to move the family members closer. You can't move. It's really difficult to move a disabled family member. And if they're demented, you can't take them on a plane because they'll scream. It's very difficult to move them in a car. So it's important to consider moving your aging parents and grandparents closer to you so that you can monitor their care and so that they won't feel like they will be left alone if their spouse dies. Um, and you want to do it early enough that it can be accomplished without too much trouble. I'll just tell a story about my father-in-law who, when he was in his 90s, he had been in the Midwest for years, and due to the kindness, the goodness of the Midwesterners' hearts, he had been well taken care of by family, and he basically had a surrogate granddaughter who took very, very good care of him. We had no idea how much she was doing for him until one day she called and said she couldn't do it anymore. So we arranged to have one of the family members, one of the siblings, be in charge of having him live near them in an assisted living. My husband and I drove him across country to be with that daughter, and we didn't realize how demented he had become until my husband was taking him on a nostalgic tour around town, and he'd lived in this town for 40 something years, and he said, "Isn't this a lovely little town? It would be a really nice place to live and raise a family." He did not recognize his hometown. And it was a difficult trip, but we made it kind of just in time because things got more difficult afterwards. So I want to emphasize that, the sooner you move your family members closer to you, the better. Because you don't want to be in a situation where they're they feel like they're alone and they have no one to depend on, and they're just getting phone calls. Because that's a situation where a lot of times, family members will need the other family member, the husband or wife, will recognize that they can't die because they would let down that family member. Just as another kind of an aside, when extended families are not close, and there's this kind of rally around a dying person, sometimes there's, I would say, a guilt, whereby maybe a child has not had a close relationship with a parent, and they will want to maintain them. They'll think they're doing them a favor by pushing to maintain their life. And I think it's motivated by guilt that they're not aware of. But I've seen that happen a lot of times too. But you want to maintain a close enough relationship with your family that you know their wishes and learn their wishes before dementia sets in, because it's subtle and it changes the way people think. And it's much easier as a young person my age to say, I have seen some really, really dreadful things in my life. People maintained, a lot of times people who either don't have family or don't have family who visit, who maybe have had a stroke, they're living in a skilled nursing facility, they're tube fed, they're contracted, their arms and legs are contracted, they have bed sores, they're incontinent, they're unable to communicate except perhaps by moaning. And I even saw one woman whose eyes, she was unable to blink and her eyes had become leathery. And I have seen so many truly agonizing things for me to watch personally that, I filled out my necessary paperwork, durable power of attorney for health care, and specified, things I want done and don't want done. And we need to do that as younger people, while we still have all of our faculties, and we need to encourage our parents and grandparents to make those decisions, or make those decisions known, whether they believe that there comes a time when they will have had enough, or if they really want everything done. There are forms that can be filled out. There's a power of attorney for financial affairs, and there's a separate durable power of attorney for healthcare. And in California, we also have a really wonderful form that I'll discuss in the next issue called a PULST form. And these are all forms that you can fill out that designate your wishes very specifically regarding how far you want your life to be maintained. And I think I'll call it quits for today. That's plenty to think about. And so hope you have a thoughtful day. Bye.